All right, every now and then you get a chance to chop it up with Nate Dean. How you doing, Nate?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. It's a good Friday. Thank God it's Friday.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Your kid's a
It's
baseball player. You hiding some fucking eggs around the house for the kid?
no, it's a funny story about him playing baseball this year. He hadn't played since he was in seventh grade, and he decided that he was going to go out for the team his senior year. So he's a senior this year. Hadn't played since seventh grade. Goes out for his senior year. We found out yesterday he made all district, and he finished the season with a 450 batting average.
So he doesn't suck.
He's not terrible. So yeah, I played baseball all growing up from 4 years old all the way through high school. My business partner, he and I grew up together, so we played baseball together from seventh grade on. But he was good enough to go on scholarship to college, and he played in college for a few years as well. And still to this day, he's got a couple of different leagues he plays in across the country, like these hard bat baseball leagues. And in fact, he's playing in one this weekend.
How old is he now?
My business partner,
Yeah,
44.
and he's still playing hardball baseball.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, about probably 3 months ago, he played in a tournament in Puerto Rico.
So I got to tell you a funny baseball story. When I was growing up in high school, me and my good friend Mike Setlak played baseball on the team, on the high school team, Richards High School, same high school that Dwayne Wade went to. Shout out to the world's worst father of all time. And me and Mike, we were the only two pitchers on the team, so we would rotate when we pitched. Like if he pitched yesterday, I would pitch today, and he would play right field. Vice versa, if I pitched a pitch yesterday, he would pitch today, and I would play right field. So we're playing at this school called Argo, and everything's going fine. This, second inning, we're down like 5-3. Just I'm up there throwing. When you're in high school, you're just throwing. But the good news is I was able to throw like 84 miles an hour fastball. Like if I just reared back and threw it, I didn't know where it was going, but it was going there fast. So I'm on the mound. I get the first guy up. He's 0 and 2. Now, 0 and 2. I have no intention of hitting this guy. It's 0 and 2. All of a sudden, ding, get him right in the elbow. He's shaking off the bees, walking all the way to first base. And I didn't think nothing of it, but it was the beginning of a fucking nightmare. Literally, next guy up, I get him 0 and 2 again, and I hit him right in the kneecap. And he's hobbling. He's hobbling to first base. Now, I don't know what it was, but when you see somebody hobbling to first base and you're the pitcher, shit look funny for a while. And not only is he hobbling, but the guy at first base is going to second, and he's chicken winging it. And all of a sudden, my buddy Mike is in right field. He's laughing. I'm laughing on the mound. And when you laugh, you got less control of the ball than when you don't laugh. So I'm laughing. I'm trying to get my shit together. Next guy, first pitch, bing, right in the fucking rib cage. So now I got one guy hobbling from first to second, the other guy shaking his wing to third, and this guy gets it right in the rib cage. And my buddy Mike is laughing. The whole infield's laughing. We're just laughing our ass off. And the other team thought I was doing it on purpose. I'm like, so the ump came out. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's just one of those days." And he's like, "Well, you got to stop laughing." The other team was a little pissed off. I'm like, "Well, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of fucking funny." And Mike is causing me to laugh, but I promise you, I'm not going to hit this next guy. And he's like, you can't. He goes, can't keep doing that. That's going to get out of line. I'm like, listen, I had both these guys 0 and 2. We're down 5-3. You think I want to load the bases with three guys that I got hit by a pitch? So next guy up, I'm on purpose telling my catcher I'm going to just throw to the outside corner. And I get him 0 and 2. He swings away, like, which is crazy. I was so wild. I'm like, who the fuck swings away 0 and 2? He's like, he gets down in the hole 0 and 2. And I'm just laughing my ass off. And I'm focused at the outside of the plate. What does this asshole do? Bases loaded 0 and 2. He crowds the plate on me. He literally gets
Mm.
right on top of the plate. I must have moved like a foot over to crowd the plate on me. And I'm thinking to myself, now this one I actually did on purpose. I'm thinking to myself, what kind of jackass moves that far over the plate? Like his elbows were over the plate. And I'm thinking to myself, what kind of jackass does that when he already knows that I'm having a hard time and I'm trying to on purpose throw outside to avoid him? So this guy was all over. And I told him, I said, hey, get off the fucking plate. And he gave me the finger. He's like, fuck you. And he thought he was like some badass because all of his teammates were threatening to kick our ass. I'm like, dude, I don't even care. I'm like, I'll kick the fuck out of you. So I literally gave him another one. I said, hey, move off the plate, buddy. I was trying to be nice. I was trying to say, hey, you're literally all over the plate. And he gave me the finger again. I'm like, all right, fuck you. And so I hit him on purpose, jammed it right into his fucking ear socket. Um, he's laying on the ground acting like he's dead. They went off his fucking helmet anyhow. So now I got one run in, four guys in a row I hit. That guy I hit on purpose though, because he was like literally right on the plate. So my catcher comes out, my manager comes out. He's like, listen, you need me to bring Mike in from right field? I'm like, no, I did that one. That was on purpose. That guy was all over the plate. I asked him nicely to get off the plate. Long story short, bases are still loaded. I hit two more guys. By the time that we hit, I got the sixth guy. I said, all right, I get it, I get it. I go out the right field. My buddy Mike plays. They had a slaughter rule in high school back then, and I think we lost by slaughter rule like by fifth inning. So we get on the bus, and all of a sudden their team, because we were the away team, their team gets like all their friends from high school, and they like come to our bus and they're shaking our bus and they're like, "We're gonna kick your ass. We're gonna kick your ass." And I was a lunatic back then, and the equipment manager had our bats, and I just grabbed an aluminum bat, and my buddy Mike grabbed the wooden bat. I open up the bus driver's like, no, I can't open the door. I can't open the door. I'm like, shut the fuck up. And I grabbed the thing and I literally opened the door. Me and my buddy Mike go out there. I'm like, I don't give a fuck who you guys think you guys are. I got a bat, so let's go right now. And I start fucking that. They started like crowding away. Me and my buddy Mike are out there. My coach is like, get back on the bus, get back on the bus. And I'm like, I'll bust your head open. So the funny thing is, they get away from our bus because we couldn't drive away because they were all around our bus. They were like shaking it up and down. And so they all got away. And then I looked at Mike, and Mike looked at me, and I'm like, this is a bad idea. Let's get back on the bus. We get on the bus, we drive out of there, we get back to school. It was literally the funniest shit ever. Made all the news everywhere. And they're like, they're like, Richards came in and tried to start something. We showed them, and I'm like, I hit 6 year players. You guys are gonna be hurting for a couple of days. So yeah, one thing about baseball in high school, it's a lot funner than people ever imagine, and you build
Oh
like
yeah.
amazing team relationships. You learn about literally sacrificing for others.
Oh yeah. He's had a blast this year playing. And
Wow.
he's been a basketball guy his whole life.
Oh really?
Um oh yeah, he's loves basketball. In fact, we made it to state final four this year.
Oh really?
And the team that we lost to ended up winning the whole thing. And so they had a pretty good season in basketball. And he was just like, "Hey, it's my senior year. I'll go out for the baseball team." And it's been a really good experience for him.
What position is he playing?
Second base,
Oh man, that's a tough position. Second base and shortstop, you got to be quick on your feet.
for sure.
Yeah, I tried third base in high school when I was younger, and I couldn't even play third base. It was a nightmare. Like you look, the ball just you just got to catch the ball and try and field it, and then throw it like to the furthest point. I was like, I am not a third baseman. Did you ever play baseball when you were a kid?
I did from 4 years old all the way through high school. I played, and I played. My main positions were second base, pitcher, and first base. First base was probably my favorite position because you're always in the game on first base.
Yeah.
If your pitcher is having a really good game or a really bad game, one or the other, then the outfield can get boring sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But first base, you're always in the game, and so first base was always my favorite. And I got really good at stretching for the ball and also scooping it out of the dirt. I love the feeling of scooping the ball out of the dirt. For some reason, I just think that's the coolest thing.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. That's like a big thing because first of all, you get the first baseman's mitt is like a unique mitt to scoop for anyhow. But
Yeah.
like literally every ball I threw to my first baseman when I was playing third base, that shit would be in the dirt coming flying out of there. And if you can scoop it out, like you got to play the bounce. Like it's funny because the ball bounces differently depending on how it's coming and where it's coming from. If it's coming from third base, it bounces on a weird angle.
Yeah.
If it's coming from second base, you almost have to scoop it with the backhand of your glove.
Yeah, JV is when I played first base. I pitched and played first base on JV. Once I moved up to varsity, we had a really good first baseman on varsity, and so that was his position and nobody else's at that point. Um, but yeah, first base was always my favorite position.
It is a lot of fun. I will tell you, I'll be honest with you, pitching's fun, but at the end of the day, um, yeah, first base is fun. The other reason that I loved, well, I didn't get to play first base hardly ever, but the other reason I think first base is a fun position, you get to meet everyone. Like everyone just, comes your way. In high school, it's rare that you you don't have high scoring games. Like people either get
Uh-huh.
walked, they get a hit, or they get hit by the pitcher who's wild as fuck. And literally, you get a chance to say hi and talk to people at first base while they're there. And I'm not kidding you. It's funny because when I was hitting all those guys, my first baseman's trying to like calm them down at first base. Well, in baseball, like pitchers mound in first base, you can hear everything they're saying.
Right.
And oh, we're gonna kick that guy's ass. And I kept funny thing is one kid, like the shortest kid on the fucking team that I hit in the elbow to start him off, he's chirping away at first base right away. I actually like looked over at him a couple of times, like, I can hear you, right? Like, don't fool yourself. I'm 6 feet, you're 5'4", nothing. But yeah, it was funny. We first base you get to have all the conversations with everyone.
Hmm.
Who's your favorite team right now?
I mean, I grew up in East Texas, and so I was always a Rangers fan growing up. Now I live in Southeast Texas now, and everybody down here is a Houston Astros fan. But between the Astros and the Rangers, I would lean more towards the Rangers.
Yeah, they got a great ballpark, don't they?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I heard it's amazing. Isn't the All-Star game this year at Texas Rangers?
it might be. I
Or I
haven't.
think it's Atlanta. I think it's Atlanta.
Okay, yeah, I haven't looked into it yet to know exactly where it's going to be this year.
Are the Rangers good this year?
They're decent. Um, I spend a lot. I've got four kids, so I spend a lot of time with my family and activities and things like that. And so I don't find myself sitting down watching a lot of sports lately.
Yeah, I haven't watched baseball game like a whole game. I can't even tell you when I did that, like 10 years maybe.
And
And
we just went to. I took my boys to a Rockets game because we're about an hour and a half or so from Houston.
did the Rockets make
Um,
the playoffs? No, they didn't, did they?
yeah, they did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they were leading their. They played the Nuggets. But the Nuggets, I think, were like 3 or 4 games back, and so they'd already secured their spot. Or the Rockets had, and the Nuggets were fighting for a better position, and so they came out hot. The Nuggets did, and they ended up beating us pretty bad. They got up by 31 on us at one point, and then that was going into the fourth quarter, and then they ended up taking their starters out, putting some scrubs in, and they finished out the game. I think we ended up losing by like 15 or 16 when it was all said and done.
That's amazing. Yeah, I gotta say, I just watched part of the that Jordan documentary on Netflix, The Last Dance,
Uh-huh.
and basketball is nowhere near as interesting as it was when Jordan was playing.
Yeah, the loyalty to team is not there like it used to be. Everybody's just chasing a contract. And so back then, you had these guys who were so loyal to their team that there was literally bad blood between teams
Yeah,
because
exactly.
there was almost no chance that they were ever going to be on the same team. So like there was this hatred towards one another, and it wasn't going away. But now you got all these guys, especially now with AAU ball, where you got guys who in high school, even though they're not even in the same state, they're playing ball together, in these travel ball, travel leagues and everything like that. And then they go into college because they have to, and then eventually making the NBA. And so I think there's definitely a lot more friends than enemies um, in today's basketball than there used to be.
Yeah. Well,
But
I think
I
you hit
think
it on the
about
head. I think
I
you hit
think
it on
about
the head.
like
There's no team play.
yeah, like I remember, some of the games growing up watching Jordan and the Knicks, watching Jordan and the Pacers, watching Jordan and the Pistons. And there was just like legit hatred for one another in those games.
Yeah. I like I said, I think it's more they've lost the team identity. Teams are no longer, nobody cares about the Bulls anymore. They care about the players on the Bulls.
Yep.
Talk a little. Hey, are you familiar with Ken Jocelyn by chance?
I am not.
You should check him out. He does faith-based business networking events, and they're
Oh,
really
okay.
good,
Interesting.
super, super good events. Talk a little bit about your faith, by the way.
Well, I grew up in in a Christian conservative household. Um, from the time I can remember, I was in church, and that was always something that was important to me. I gave my life to Christ when I was a teenager, and but it was when I was in college is when the Lord like really got a hold of my heart. And my wife and I got married in 2002 when I was 21. And a couple years after we'd been married, we've been attending a church, and they were in need of a music position at the church. And I had a little bit of a music background because I actually went to college on a choir scholarship. And so they asked me to if I would consider, stepping in and leading music at the church. And I, even though I was on choir scholarship, I should have had a lot of confidence in myself, but I did not at all. And the idea of leading music in front of people terrified me.
Really?
So, so I told them, no, I can't do that. And after about 3 or 4 weeks of them bringing in different people, every time they would bring somebody in, and I would be sort of observing and going, maybe it was the Spirit of God just sort of reinforcing this idea of, hey, you could do it better. You could do a better job than that. And so finally, one Sunday after church, I went to the search committee guy and told him, "Hey, I'll lead music next Sunday. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but I'll lead music next Sunday." And so I led music that Sunday, and he called me like a couple days later. He said, "Hey, the church really, I've gotten a lot of great feedback from Sunday morning, and the church really enjoyed you lead music. Would you consider leading again this next Sunday?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it next Sunday." So I did it the next Sunday. He called me that week and said, "Hey, got a lot more great feedback, and they want to know if you would consider being the interim until we find someone to fill that role." So short story is I was the interim, and then eventually the church decided they didn't want anybody else. They just wanted me. And so that was my first experience in church staff ministry. And so I led music there at that church for a year and a half. In total, I've led music and worked with students as a youth minister for about 10 and a half years altogether. I even pastored a church. I was a senior pastor of a church for 3 years. But in 2021, I felt led to step down from that position and just went 100% full time into our business. Um, and we found a church that my family and I plugged into, got very involved and still very involved in that church. And um, I just actually came out of the role of interim youth pastor at our church. And so now I'm back to just being sort of a lay person, so to speak. But I'm also a prospective elder at our church as well. And so I'm kind of in a leadership role as far as that goes, being on the joint board and such.
Talk
Um,
about why faith
but
matters,
yeah,
by the way.
faith faith matters because for me it's the truth. And so it's a combination of truth and a combination of hope. Because I believe without hope in this world, then this life is pretty pointless if you don't have hope. And so, um, me personally, I believe in Jesus, and so my hope is in Him. And we're here
Because
talking
you're
on this
down in
Good
the southern
Friday.
part of Texas, do you guys refer to him as Jesus sometimes?
No, 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 we don't. Uh, but I remember in like fourth or fifth grade, there was actually a Spanish student that came to um, our school, and his name was Jesus, and he didn't really speak much English, but we became friends, and I would kind of like help him learn English, and he would kind of help me learn Spanish a little bit.
There you go. You became friends with Jesus.
I guess so.
So I like to leave things whenever I end a podcast with something inspirational. If you were going to tell somebody something inspirational, something to get them to move forward in life, something to overcome a challenge or a fear, what would you tell them right now?
Um, Something I say often is don't chase money, chase purpose. Because when you chase money, it'll run faster. When you chase purpose, you will run faster.
I love that. I think that's one. I'm gonna use that one a lot. I love that. I always tell people you got to find your passion and purpose in life because that will be the thing that fills your life. It fills your cup. You will fill your cup every day. I think a lot of people go to work and they go to jobs and it's almost like they're homeless. They're sitting there with a cup going, "Can somebody fill my cup?" And then they go home and their cup's empty. And it's because they don't have any passion and purpose. And yeah, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, one of the beautiful things that we get to do in our business is not only encourage people to dream um, and encourage people to find their purpose, but we get to lock arms with them and go help them do it simultaneously, which is a lot of fun.
Talk a little bit about your business. What are you referring to?
Well, it's called Unlimited Life Concepts. Essentially, we're a financial education business. We just teach people the truths about money that they didn't learn in school. Kind of our motto is we help people or show people how to keep more of the money that they make, so they can earn more on what they keep with as much certainty over their lifetime. And so we're not investment advisors. We're really cash flow specialists more than anything else, and we just show people how to create maximum efficiency so that they can achieve their maximum financial potential.
Awesome. What do you think about the current situation of the US dollar? Do you think that the US dollar is the best form of money that people can hold on to today, or is it Bitcoin?
Well, being in the Austrian economic camp, I believe that scarcity is what creates behavior. Scarcity drives behavior, and the reality is there is no scarcity in the U.S. dollar. So you can go back and look historically on the purchasing power of a dollar and see how I don't know, in the last 50 or 60 years it's gone down by like 90% or something. Like
I
it's an
think it's even
insane
more than
number.
yeah, I think it's even more than that.
Um, Bitcoin, on the other hand, I don't know the numbers on Bitcoin, but you could just look historically on what it's done and what it continues to do, and that's because there's scarcity built around it, and people understand that everything is built on supply and demand.
So here's another question for you that's financial related. They haven't audited Fort Knox in 50 years. What happens when Elon goes in there with Doge and they do a live stream audit? Are they going to find all the gold, or is a bunch of it missing?
Man, I don't trust the government I mean, really, there's very little faith that I have in the I mean I'm 43 about to be 44. So there the government's never really given me a reason to trust them. I'll put it that way. And so Social Security was supposed to be something that people could depend on. Well, Social Security is bankrupt.
bankrupt.
Um,
And
and
what
and
they
not
did,
only not only is it bankrupt, but they've been robbing from other places just to support it.
well, here's the crazy thing. They actually, over the last 4 years, put 4 million people on Social Security benefits that aren't even American citizens and haven't contributed to it, that came into this country illegally. They're not only bankrupting Social Security, they're screwing future generations of people that are banking on that money to survive.
Yeah, and when I speak on politics and things like that, uh, some people might be confused, but I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I am very much for limited government. I just feel like the government needs to stay out of my business as much as they possibly can. Um, you know, Government was supposed to be established in order to protect the people. Um,
Well, it's for the people, by the people.
right, right.
And what's
But
happened now is it's
unfortunately,
become
we've
twisted.
become the workers. And yeah, so there's definitely a level of slavery that we are all a part of at some level when it comes to paying taxes and all the stupid things that we have to do.
That's why I tell people put your money in Bitcoin. It's sound money, and I actually think that the economic system that America runs on is horribly corrupt and way out of whack and way out of balance. And I'll be honest with you, I don't believe the gold is in Fort Knox that's supposed to be there. I think that there's trillions of dollars that the Fed has printed that they haven't told us about. I think that we've literally got a horrible system of checks and balances. And if anyone thinks their money's safe in the bank, do the simple math. FDIC has $124 billion of capital to insure $73 trillion on deposit. If you do the math on that, you're fucked. If you're not if you're not one of the chosen few, you're fucked. And
Yeah,
shout out to all the chosen few from Silicon Valley Bank that had their political operatives bail them out when the bank went under.
let me see how quickly I can pull this up. But there's a quote from Henry Ford about the banking situation. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I don't know if I can or not. Um, but if I can't find it, I'll just paraphrase it. But he commenting on the banking situation, I found it. He said, "It is well enough that people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system. For if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." All you have to do is go look up fractional reserve banking, and it'll tell you all you need to know about our banking
Well,
system.
by the way, I'll even add one more thing before we end this. When Biden took office the first day, he literally wrote an executive order that allowed banks to have what's called zero fractional reserve. Now, the word fractional reserve already means that it's a fraction of what you're supposed to have, like 2%, 20%. It used to be 20%. If you had
Yep.
$1 million on deposits, you had to keep 200,000 on hand at all times. The good news
Yeah,
is,
it was 10% before he stroked that pen.
yeah, now it's zero. Now here's the other thing that he did on that same day. He allowed it so that banks no longer had to be what are called um, what's it called? Where they watch your money. When you deposit money in a bank, oh, custodial accounts.
Oh, okay.
When
Yeah.
your money's in a bank, it's no longer in a custodial account. You're actually giving your money to the bank. If the bank goes under and fails, it's their money, not your money. And you know
Yeah.
how I found this out? I tried to pull some cash out for a poker game one time, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. It wasn't a large amount of money, high five figures. It took me a week and I had to fill out forms begging them for my own money to get that cash. And the lady told me, she's like, we only have about $10,000 in cash on hand at any given time, anyhow. And I'm like, well, that sounds stupid. Like, how do you guys have only 10 grand? She's like, we just try to give people as little money as possible.
Yeah, there's four rules of the financial institutions that they all want us to play by. One is they want our money. Two is they want it on a consistent, systematic basis. Three is they want it for a long period of time. And four is they want to give it back to you as slowly as possible.
Yeah, it blows my mind when you can't get your own money and you think that the bank is a safe place to put your money.
Yeah, and since we're talking about banking, one of the unique concepts that we teach people in our practice is something called the infinite banking concept. And so what we do is we teach people how they can create their own private banking system inside of a dividend paying whole life insurance policy. So you effectively have the ability to establish an ever increasing line of credit inside of one of these policies that earns interest whether you're using it or not. And so that's one of the ways that we show people how to create maximum efficiency with their cash flow.
Why don't we chop it up and do this again soon and talk about that piece of the puzzle? Because I think more people have to understand how you can create an asset and borrow against it. I'm doing a deal right now
Yep.
for $50 million where I'm borrowing against $100 million worth of Bitcoin, and the actual deal pays people back in more Bitcoin. So they're able to literally keep their asset, lend it out, but invest in real estate, and then have that real estate pay them back in Bitcoin on a monthly basis.
Very cool. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
He's Nate Dean. It's been fun chopping it up, Nate.
Appreciate it.